Welcome to Inside Major League Pickleball, a special edition. The player keeper deadline has passed, and we're going to look at some of the biggest names who are no longer on MLP rosters. I'm Will Daughton, thrilled to be joined by three-time MLP winning general manager Dave Fleming. We're not in the same place, but we're bringing the same energy as always via the glory that is the internet. Dave, thanks for making this work. I'm excited for it.
I am too. Greetings from Cape Coral. What a championship Sunday we just had. But my goodness, is there news in Major League Pickleball? I can't wait to break it down.
That might have been the biggest understatement of the year so far, Dave. There certainly is news in Major League Pickleball. We're going to get it right into it, talk about some of the biggest names who were dropped at the player keeper deadline. Starting off with the Dallas Flash dropping Georgia Johnson, the 2025 MLP MVP, had an outstanding campaign, and she is no longer. She's up for grabs in the draft, Dave. I mean, it was a tough decision for Dallas. They had to drop either Georgia, J.W. Johnson, or Hurricane Tyra Black. They choose to drop Georgia. What's going on in D-Town?
This is going to cause a lot of people who don't follow it closely to blow up Mark Moulton's phone, Julie Johnson's phone, like fortunately unlimited minutes and text, because it's going to be crazy with those two as this news percolates through the pickle sphere. But I think a couple things. Number one, if you are looking at long-term in the rules, they've shown us what their hand is. They had to cut Augie last year. They got him back. So there's no question what the intent will be is to figure out a way to get her back. There is no guarantee that that will happen. But once you put somebody into the free agency pool, then if you can get them back, you don't have to fight maybe with all the teams, depending on the rules next year. So I understand that. But this is going to be so jarring. The flash mob's going to be like, what? That's our engine, man. That is our catalyst. That's our MVP. So it's going to take a while for that to settle in. And then, my goodness, the bidding war I think we're going to have at the draft. And just to remind everybody, it's not a worst team like the NFL drafts first. Every slot is up for bid, and then you can choose whoever you want. So I think everyone is going to be pretty surprised by this. In fact, on our Cape Coral coverage, Adam Stone asked Georgia, who would she drop? With Tyra standing right next to her. And Tyra's like, I'm standing right here. So she said J-Dub, and then ultimately it's her.
Wow, Adam Stone asking the hard-hitting questions on Pickleball TV. But Dave, Georgia Johnson, not the only big-name female to be dropped at the keeper deadline. Got to go over to St. Louis, the shock and awe, dropping Anna Bright. I mean, we know how good she has been. She and Hayden Patriquin have almost knocked off Ben Johns and Annalie Waters on the PPA side virtually every single time they've played. I mean, another jarring, that's a good descriptor that you used, Dave, another jarring decision from St. Louis.
So again, they have shown us their hand, even with cutting a female last year. Kate Fahey got cut, and they raced to the top of the line, and they bid until they had that number one pick secured last year and got Kate Fahey back. So there's a couple of financial things. I don't want to make this too complicated, but it was more expensive to keep Anna Bright than one of the two gentlemen that they have. So there is a financial benefit to this. However, when all the other general managers who have an open female slot, and that's not every team, see that she's available, not only an incredible player, but one of the best captains in all of Major League Pickleball, that killer spirit, grab those youngsters by the collar and get them to win. So I am surprised by this, but not if you look at financially. So that may be why they did it before. They're going to want to do it again. So out of nowhere, you have two of the top 4 or 5 women in the world available at the upcoming draft.
And you mentioned this as well, Dave. It's not only about the skill on the court, it's also about what you bring off the court. We know in MLP, the energy, the team dynamic, who gets hot at the right times, that is all so, so crucial, especially for these teams that are used to making deep playoff runs. So finding a way, if they're not able to get Anna Bright back, or if Dallas isn't able to get Georgia back, finding a replacement, not only for the on-court stuff, but for the off-court stuff, is going to be huge. And that continues. Another trend, the New Jersey Fives. Now, it was most people expected, right? Because New Jersey could keep Annalie Waters, Will Howells, and Noe Cliff. A lot of people expected them to drop one of Megan Dizon or Mari Humberg, who kind of split time a little bit last year playing alongside Annalie Waters, though Dizon had most of the reps. But New Jersey drops them both. So now they are going to be looking probably to the draft, potentially through the trade market, to find another female for Annalie to play women's doubles alongside and for someone to play mixed with Noe Cliff.
Yeah, so let's see. Who does Annalie Waters usually play women's doubles with? Let me think. The newly available Anna Bright, are you kidding me? Are they going to be able to create a super team? So I'm not sure what information was put in front of Dallas and St. Louis as it relates to any conversations they had. Hey, Ryan Harwood, what are you doing? You're going to just keep your team? Which of your ladies are you going to drop? How about both? And now they are potentially in the market and in this bidding war for the ladies at the top, either Georgia or Anna Bright. Either one of those with Annalie Waters puts them maybe as the favorites right out of the gate here. So I don't know, and I haven't seen what the thought process was for St. Louis and Dallas, but if they thought they were going to easily be able to run it back, and St. Louis really said, I don't care, I'm going to pay. Well, now there might be another hand in there hitting the I bid more, I bid more, I bid more. So it is going to make the draft crazy interesting because now there is a third very good team in the market for a high-end female.
And the crazy thing is, Dave, we've talked about three teams. We haven't even talked about the 2025 champions, the Columbus Sliders, and who they dropped. Now, they did not have to drop any one of their starters because of how the rules played out. They would have been able to keep rolling with Andre Diascu, CJ Klinger, Paris Todd, and Leah Jansen. But they did drop Leah Jansen, who they drafted in 2025. They dropped her at this keeper deadline. So now moving forward with the core, Andre, CJ, and Paris, I mean, we know this team won the championship. It's obviously a top tier core. Just an interesting decision from a future perspective as well, dropping a player after you just won the championship.
Yeah, I'm sure Leia is like, whoa, hey, I'm a champion here. We figured it out. They were the chosen ones. Everyone wanted to play them. Dallas wanted to play them. St. Louis wanted to play them, and they all got sent home. So, there's another team at the top that, again, if they want to invest, and that is going to be obviously at the discretion of the owner here, they could form a super team and go after one of those two top ladies in Georgia or J.W. Johnson, Georgia or Anna Bright. So this is incredible that with the scarcity of the high-end women, that two of them are available and potentially two of the other top 4 or 5 teams have positioned themselves in such a way where they could pounce.
And let's talk, you can't forget about, you talk about Georgia and Anna Bright as well. Megan Dizon, Mari Humberg, very, very strong players in their own right, consistently making quarterfinals, sometimes semifinals on the Carvana PPA Tour. Callie Smith from the Chicago Slice, another player who's been around a while, still competing at a very high level, also dropped at the keeper deadline. And that's the interesting part, Dave, because you think of the interconnectivity of all of these moves. Because, look, when Dallas makes that decision to drop Georgia Johnson, they don't have access to a bunch of other intel from all these other teams, right? It's not like you have this draft board because you don't even know who's going to be available in the pool until today. and they have a few weeks before the draft to figure it out. How do you think, or what are some teams that you think these moves are going to impact the most? Potentially a Texas Ranchers type team who has two very strong males, but got rid of their 2025 females during the offseason.
Yeah, so now Texas is like, wait a minute here. Okay. Can you imagine Georgia or Anna Bright jumping into that group with Eric Onsens and Christian Alshon? So the draft before in 2025, it was how much is it going to cost St. Louis to get the first pick and Dallas to get the second pick? And it was pretty expected. And we didn't get off script. We didn't get a Netflix unbelievable thriller of a shocker there. We might now. I mean, my eyes for this are on, does Texas want to get in the mix here and really vault themselves to the top, needing two women and maybe investing in one and then figuring out another way to get it? And does Anna Lee Waters, the second she sees this, go, yo, Ryan, guess what, man? Anna Bright is available and we can go wreck everybody. I mean, what's the credit card limit here? It's my question for them. The other thing is, what does Columbus want to do? The connectivity of the three that remain is exceptional. They played great. They knew and figured out how to win. So if they want to get in there, but what happens, anyone that's been in an auction of any type, all it takes is two to keep driving that number up. So I think we're going to see much higher numbers to earn those top two spots, taking nothing away, as you mentioned, from Megan and Mari and Callie. But when you can get top four talent, top two talent, if we're talking about Georgia and AB, it's probably two of the top three right there. And they've proven themselves as winners in MLP. What's another 100K, baby?
Well, we've also talked about a lot of teams who have kind of been around the block, right? They've been around for a few years. We haven't even mentioned the Palm Beach Royals, who have yet to play a match, but they have been very active in the free agency market, made 2 acquisitions, 2 cash for player trades, and also picked up Sophia Seving as well. I mean, where do they fall in all this? Deckel Barr, Tina Pisnik, Sophia Seving. I mean, it's obviously a lot of things have to go right in terms of, who they fill out the rest of their roster with. But I've been very impressed with their ball knowledge so far. I mean, just with the moves they've made. What do you make of that, Dave?
Well, I've known Zach, who's part running the show over there, for a while, and I'm not surprised that they're jumping in. They came out right away. We got a branding package. We have intentions with our minor league team. They've got be a part of clubs and things down there. So they're well-rounded as far as their approach. As you mentioned, they haven't played a match yet. And now when we look at the guys at the higher end that were dropped, look who could join that group. We have a Jack Sock now available. We have a Dylan Frazier now available. Phoenix dumped both their guys, so Tyson McGuffin also available. So when you look at what they could get out of one of those couple of fellas and put them with Sophia Seving, a very good player, a lot of teams would have been eager to get a hold of her, but because of the rules, guess who was able to grab them? The new team. So being a part and being new really benefited them from that. So I am excited to see how Palm Beach approaches the draft coming up, because they might be able to get another guy and be really good in the top 4 or 5 teams right out the gate.
And Dave, you've sat in that GM's chair, right?
Yes.
Had a lot of success. You've been, won Major League Pickleball titles. And we always talk about the value of the top tier of female players, right? Why is it? And the money's important, obviously, and that's probably such a huge reason for some of these decisions to get rid of these top tier females and let them go back into the free agency market. But just from your perspective, having sat in that chair, what could possibly be another reason that we're seeing so many of these uber talented ladies going into free agency.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is the rules for down the road. So if next year there is a ton of the players available in a 2027 version of all that, how great is it if you've reacquired and locked down a star for several years and you do not have to fight to get them back, maybe against 15 teams, let alone the 4 or 5 or 6 that we've talked about here. So I think there's some forward thinking that's going on as those decisions are made. But as far as the talent concerned, when you talk about the difference between 6 and 20 on the men's side, it is a gap, but it's not the gap 6 to 20 on the women's side is, which is much wider. So that's why we might, and we'll see these auction prices just going through the roof. And all it's going to take is a third or fourth team. If everyone just lets St. Louis buy the first and Dallas buy the second, as we had in the 2025 version of this will not be nearly as fun. But it sure looks like with the decisions that were made with these keepers that we might just have that.
Let's take a quick trip out west, Dave,
Okay.
to look at the SoCal Hard Eights. Your friend, your commentary buddy, general manager of the Hard Eights, Adam Stone. They're fresh, clean slate going into the draft. I mean, what's going on in SoCal?
You said let's go out west and see. There is nothing to see. Well, they have no players. They traded right here, right now, Blaine Hovenier over to Las Vegas, and Arena was dropped. So guess what? 0 players left. And I think for some of these teams, it's a decision. Do we want to pay some money maybe for one player to anchor around, or do we want to go young? And there's a lot of eyeballs on a lot of young players. And the other thing that we're going to be educating everybody is there's players from Australia who have now been added. There are a couple real good players who haven't played consistently against the best on the Carvana PPA Tour, but they've jumped in on an Asia event here and there. So, hey, why not? But right now, Adam's got nobody to general manage because there are 0 players on his roster right now.
And like you said, it's a big opportunity, right? You get to create something from scratch. We know about the junior movement. I mean, so much momentum. You think of Thomas Shimabukuro, Cam Chafin, Kiora Kunimoto, right? All of these players who have not been competing professionally for that long. We've seen what they can do on the Carvana PPA Tour. And so, look, we have 20 teams in MLP. We looked at some of them, some of the biggest drops, biggest storylines. But what's this all building to, right? What this is building to is the 2026 Major League Pickleball drafts taking place on February 27th. Dave, you mentioned it earlier. It's going to take place via a dynamic bidding process. You don't bid on the players, you bid on the picks. And I know you're going to be doing a show in Santa Monica, Dave, to recap all the action.
Yeah, so the draft happens on the 27th. We're going to film the show on the 28th, and then it'll debut on March 1st at noon Eastern on Pickleball TV. And that'll really help everybody understand, because there's a lot of trades that we haven't covered as well. Who is on what team? At that point, Adam Stone, you better have some players.
Yeah, it would be a much bigger problem if there were no players on SoCal after the draft, but we will hopefully not get to that point. I'll, of course, be around as well with some preview coverage of the draft. But that is going to do it for this edition of Inside Major League Pickleball. So much to be excited for in 2026. We appreciate you spending time with us and finding out who's going to be available for that draft. You'll be seeing a lot more of us in 2026. Thanks for joining us. Have a good one.
Peace.